I'm super excited to have Robin here today. She's going to be talking a little bit about herself. Again, this is all just for us to be able to have other people to relate to and for us to be able to feel like we have a connection in this world with others who are going through similar things, new things, things that we didn't even realize that might be something that we might experience at some point in our lives. And then, of course, just tips and tricks around life as a female, as a leader in your field, and or trying to grow to be that to that point, and also as a mom, as a pet parent, as a wife, all of the above. So I'm excited to have Robin here. She is a professor at
Texas Christian University.
Yes, and tell us a little bit about your background and how you got there.
Yeah, so a little bit about me. I'm first off very excited to be here with you, Tamara. So thanks for inviting me on. A little bit background in terms of me. Started off kind of all my life doing sports. My main sport was gymnastics. So did that all throughout since I was 2.5 all the way through like 17, I think. And then at that point, I actually transitioned over into competitive cheerleading and kind of did that through college, coaching, the whole 9 yards. So also competitive swimmer. So sports were always a part of my life. And going to college, I went to the University of Florida for undergrad. And I initially wanted to be a physical therapist because unfortunately with sports, injuries happen.
Yes.
So had my fair share of injuries. So during high school, I had like 4 different knee surgeries. So spent a lot of time in PT clinics. So I was like, yeah, PT sounds great. Then got to school, realized wasn't exactly what I wanted to do. So pivot, career change. What do I do with life?
Yeah.
Thought for a hot second, maybe I'll go to law school. Yeah, no. And then I was actually ironically taking this class called coaching gymnastics. And one of our guest speakers, I know, talk about an awesome class.
Yeah.
One of our guest speakers was an athlete on the gymnastics team at UF, and she was studying sport and exercise psychology for her PhD and came in, talked to us, and I was like, yes, it's like my two worlds, psychology and sport put together. Perfect. So that was kind of around my junior year. So graduated with a Bachelor of Science in psychology and then went down to Barry University where I met you. And did 2 years down there. I actually was the first one to do both the applied track and the thesis track because who needs, just one?
Typical Robin, and I love it.
So kind of and did both tracks. So love the applied side, working with athletes, but love the research side as well. So that was a great experience, really to kind of, in essence, get my feet wet in both worlds.
Mhm.
Then from there, went on to Florida State. So I'm a little confused, I guess you could say, in terms of my schooling. But went up there for my PhD and got my PhD in sport and exercise psychology, where kind of shifted definitely more towards the research side in terms of things strengthening that. But I also had the opportunity to do a lot of applied work as well. So even in my career, I even got a position working up at Thomas University, working with a bunch of their teams, and was even hired on with my mentor to work with them.
Yeah.
So spent a lot of time doing that as well. And then again, I just love to do it all. And you'll see kind of as we chat, learning to say no might have been a better choice here. But I also coached cheerleading throughout my time. So I coached them and then also was adjuncting at Thomas University, as well as kind of teaching courses at Florida State as part of my assistantship. So I was a busy person during
Yes, you take on a lot. Well, yes.
So, and then from there, I was fortunate enough to get my first academic position out at University of Texas Permian Basin. So, moved to the great state of Texas out in West Texas, where
Mm.
I was actually there for 6 years. So, was out there for 6 years working as an assistant professor. And then now I moved to TCU and have been here since 2019. So now an associate professor, and I'm the graduate program director in the kinesiology department. So
What a wild way to get there. And you're absolutely right. Like from all my memories of being with you and the things, you just take it all on. You're right. Boundaries were not necessarily a thing
Nope, nope,
that
nope.
you considered, but that's what made you you, right? You worked really
Yeah,
hard, you busted your butt, and that's what's made you who you are today and gotten you to where you are. I'm sure eventually as we continue to talk, we'll talk boundaries and why they might be important, but
yes.
I think when you have that time and energy in your youth, why not, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
It's been a great journey, and I think everything we do shapes us to who we become.
For sure. Absolutely. I love too that it was West Texas. And I think one of the stories you told me about West Texas was it's in the middle of nowhere.
Yes. There's a lot of oil. So when I was moving there, they're like, "You do know that's West Texas, right?" And I was like, "I know, but like the city's grown." And when we were there, honestly, there was anything and everything we needed at the time. I am a city girl, so the Metroplex is much better for me, but it was a great place to start. I had great colleagues, a great department chair, met great, wonderful people. So it really was a good place for me in that moment.
Yeah, that's super helpful to have that support to be able to set you up for success moving forward. So I love that. All right. Well, now that we know a little bit about you, we're going to dive into the fun stuff. Like, let's get to know Robin on a deeper level. So, some of the questions I had pre asked you are the ones that I'm going to kind of go through. And if there's one in particular that you're like, I'd really love to talk this, please, by all means, guide me that direction. I'm totally open to it. My first question that I want to ask is what personal challenges as a woman have you faced that shaped your journey and how did you overcome it?
Yeah, great question. And I really had to think about these, and I kind of took it a little bit more broader. So I looked at it just in terms of challenges, and then I broke it down into kind of professional and personal. So I
Oh,
kind of
beautiful.
broke it that way. So when I look at these, kind of first starting with the professional side of things, and specifically being a woman and a woman in academia and really the sports world, is being underestimated.
Oh, 100%.
So I figured you could relate to this one, so really navigating spaces where a lot of times I was either the only woman in the room, and that really shifts that dynamic, and you become hyper aware of how you're being perceived. It puts this added pressure, having to prove that you belong and that you're qualified, you're enough. And this really led to kind of this imposter syndrome and really dealing with that a lot of times during my PhD in my early years. And I'll say, even still to this day, is despite having all these years, all these different credentials, all these things, it's this nagging internal voice. Do I really belong here? Am I good enough? Over time, I've learned to focus on the facts, the things I've achieved, what I've done, the people I've worked with, the successes I've had. I'll say I haven't completely silenced it, but I don't let it drive me like I did in the past. And now, kind of moving forward, focusing on me and
Yeah.
those types of things.
Yeah. I appreciate, Robin, that you put that out there because I think we all feel it. I think I can relate, right? It is a male driven, depending on where you work, it can be very male driven. Me working with the military with special forces, I mean, that's all male. So there's a lot of moments of checking myself. Tell me, just to dive a little bit deeper on that, I know that you're saying that you're focusing on those things that remind you of your strengths and your abilities. But in those tough moments of like, you are the only one in the room, you're about to go and present to a bunch of men. What is that cue or that thing that you do, routine, whatever it might be, that really kind of sets you up for success?
Yeah. So, what I kind of do, I always think in the back of my head, control the controllables.
Mhm.
What's in my control, what's out of my control. I can control my actions, what I'm doing, how I'm presenting, the information I'm giving, and those types of things. I
Yeah.
can't control how they're going to receive it, what they're going to think of me, those things. So I just focus on what can I do in this moment to make people believe in me and in what I'm doing.
Yeah, it's so wild that the skills that we teach are things that we
Yeah.
have to use in everyday life to
Yeah.
set ourselves up for success. So, yeah, that controlling yourself and realizing that, that you can't control is such a great thing to consider while stepping up to the podium or whatever it is that you're doing. So, I love that. Okay, do you mind sharing your personal one? I'd love to hear that one too.
Yeah, yeah. So I have more on professional if you want
Oh,
to go
yeah,
into
keep
professional.
going. Yes, yes,
Okay.
yes.
Sorry. I got lots to say.
Okay, great.
So other things that kind of go with this underestimating is also being overlooked.
Mm,
And I'm sure you've had this one similar. You're sitting in a room and you're sharing ideas or talking things through, and you say something dismissed, it's not heard. Then all of a sudden, a male colleague says literally the exact same thing you say, and they're heard. And, it's why aren't they listening to me? Was it the tone I said? Was I not confident enough? And again, that imposter syndrome, you start second guessing, you start thinking through it, going through those things. Then other things such as for me, it's a little thing. It's not that big of a deal, but when it happens all the time, it kind of just nags at you. When males are called doctor and then females were referred to our first name, you know,
Oh, wow.
it's little things. You introduce somebody as Dr. So and so and Robin. Well, wait, why not my title and they get a title, or referring them to in a meeting or something like that.
Yeah.
So it's those little things that you just kind of see. And I don't think men pick up on it. I know my female colleagues do. I even had one, I was in a meeting with her and she called me by my first name and called another professor doctor. And afterwards, she sent me this sweet email and went, I am so sorry. I am so aware of it, and honestly, I didn't notice that time.
Yeah.
But it's those little things that we notice. And so kind of taking that through, are key things.
That's a huge challenge. It does. It has an effect, a direct effect on that imposter syndrome of, am I worthy? We already as females doubt and worry and all the things, question ourselves. And then to have that title not be included when in comparison to someone else. Yeah, absolutely. So in those moments, what do you do there?
A lot of times I need to do better about it. A lot of times I don't say anything, but if it's, for instance, an introduction, I then say Dr. Robin Churkio and I add the title in those moments. Or then if they're talking, then I make sure to refer them. If we're using titles, then I'll refer to them by doctor. So it's kind of modeling it to try to change it.
Great idea.
And if somebody says it over and over, if it's somebody who's done it a lot, sometimes I've even pulled them aside and said, "Look, I know this is probably unintentional, but I prefer if we're using titles, please refer to my title. If we're just using first names, I'm fine. Like we're
Mm,
using first names, no big deal. I'm not like you have to call me doctor."
yes.
But if we're in a space where everybody else is, please refer to everybody by their appropriate titles.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
Such a first and foremost, the fact that, right, you can advocate for yourself is huge and the comfortability to advocate for yourself because that's hard for a lot of people
yeah,
and being able to what a smart idea just shift and be like, "Yes, Doctor Robin."
yeah.
Right? And then continuing that and just inserting yourself again with that confidence of, you know what? Who better to support me but myself?
Exactly.
Hmm.
Yep,
I love
yep.
that.
We need to advocate for ourselves.
Yes.
It's an important piece.
Yes. And it
And
is
it's
hard.
it is. It's a challenge. So, and there's bunches of challenges too that I faced, and I thought earning the PhD, right? This is this big moment. They call me doctor for the first time. Yes, all right. And shortly after I defended, it was, so when are you getting married and having babies? And I'm like, wait, like, what about my goal? What about like, my career? Like I had just got, my first job. Why aren't we talking about those things? It's now shifting and going back to those traditional things of, oh, time to get married, time to go have kids, have a family, which then it carried over into, my professional life for a while. And, okay, are you getting married? Are you having kids? And, at the time I had a long-term relationship to us, we pretty much were married, just not legally, those types of things. And at the moment I was focused on my career. And then later it shifted on to, do you have kids? Why don't you have kids?
Mm.
Which I saw, my male colleagues or just male friends, they weren't being asked those same questions and they were being celebrated for their job accomplishments or those things. Nothing about personal timelines in terms of those things. So it's interesting how we still see this. And then kind of later on, when I did feel it was right to kind of start having a family, it became a challenge for us. And we did end up going through IVF,
Mm.
which is deeply emotional, physically exhausting. It's a very personal journey, and honestly, one that I haven't told many about, really just my family and very, very few people. So, this is me being brave and sharing with people because I think it is an important thing. Because many women go through it silently, especially in professional spaces, because you feel vulnerable, it's risky, and it's hard navigating these early morning appointments, these hormone treatments. It's an emotional roller coaster, the ups and the downs. And I didn't want to be seen as weakness, or I also really didn't want people asking me questions like, oh, did it work? I did know our chances were kind of low. So, I didn't want people to kind of just keep asking me about the outcome or how are things going. So I carried it silently and it did consume a lot of, emotional bandwidth. One, of course, because of the hormones, just in general. And thankfully I had a very supportive husband, help me with some of those injections and all those things. But really going through this journey and kind of reflecting back and thinking through a lot of these, it really does kind of make me think through all the double standards that there really still unfortunately do exist in kind of these professional spaces. And kind of thinking through these, it's really these subtle moments and these things that you know, we sometimes fixate on and think about, and that, they slowly kind of just chip away at you. They can make you lose your confidence. They can make you second guess things, and that we have to work twice as hard, or we have to carry things in silence in order to still be professional and get where we want to go. So it is a challenge, and it's a challenge to navigate it, and really focusing on how I respond and thinking through, my knowledge, my credibility, those things, and kind of just pushing through and that to keep going and keep showing up every day. And some days, I'm giving 100% of my 70%.
Yes.
Like I can't be 100% all day, every day. So some days are going to be great, some days aren't. And, we tell our athletes that and the people we work with. So I have to follow that same thing of giving what I can in that moment and realize that and kind of keep pushing.
Yeah, absolutely. That's first off, thank you for being so vulnerable. I think that you're right. There's so many people who do this in silence. I've had a few friends actually go through this process and I just it's hard in itself with all the added other things, especially as a professional doing it while there's so much going on, right? So, I just want to say thank you for sharing and also that my heart is with you because I know just how much that takes a toll on you, both mentally, emotionally, physically, right? Like all
Yeah.
of these things. It's just it's a lot. It's a lot. And that vulnerability to just share and be a part of that, I just really appreciate that.
Yeah, yeah. I want women to know that you're not alone. And, I did see, thankfully, other friends of mine who had shared and talked about it. And I did reach out to some of them, and appreciated them. So I kind of was reflecting and thought, it's important that others might hear my story. Thankfully for them, they were successful. Unfortunately for us, ours wasn't, but that's part of it. Not everything does, unfortunately, turn out in terms of success in that regard. So now it's, how do I reframe it? How do I move forward? And figuring that out, navigating it. And I have a lot of students that I like to call, my kids, if you will.
They
They're
are.
adults. They're
Yes.
very grown adults, but married and getting ready to have their own kids maybe one day if they so choose. But it's looking and reframing things. So
Yes. Yes. Absolutely. Again, another skill that you teach so well. So hopefully also helpful to be able to reframe because it is such a strong emotional process, having that tool to be able to rely on a little bit to shift that. Absolutely. And just the resilience you've probably built through sport yourself has probably played a big toll on your ability to do that. So
yeah, yeah.
that's, I
And
love that. Like I just want to give you a hug.
and I think it's important to remind people it's okay not to be okay, and that's okay. Feel the emotions you need to feel and get through it. Right afterwards, I cried. Like, I part of it was the hormones and like uncontrollable crying, and I've been told similar when you're pregnant and those types of things or postpartum. Obviously, myself haven't been through it, but they were similar. I can empathize a little, but just that crying in those moments, and it was tough, and but it's okay, and giving myself space to allow myself to feel that, I felt was important instead of trying to hold it in and those types of things, just let me feel the emotions I needed to feel in that moment.
Yes. Oh, such a good reminder for all women. Like, one, when we go through the things, whatever it is, right, I'm getting goosebumps just thinking about it. Whatever those things are that are deep, that are strong, that are hard, one, it's okay to have those emotions, to cry, to struggle through it, to scream, to yell, to right, like go throw some weight around. That's my go-to. Like, let me punch some punching bags, something. And two, to just have that support.
Yeah.
Like, where is that? Because we as women thrive off connection.
Yeah.
So having that connection, that support, and while you said you had your husband, I'm sure, since you said you had this small group that you shared with, I'm sure they were all there to be able to hold you through that process and support you and walk through that with you. And sometimes it's a matter of just holding, right? Not
Yeah.
words. I
Yeah.
just need you there. I need a shoulder. I need a person. I need that connection, that warmth to just release some of it. So I think that's important for people to know that we are women. We need those emotions to process,
Oh,
to move through. And it's not going to go away. Those emotions stay with us.
yeah.
It's a part of our journey.
Yes.
So it's okay for them to come back and resurface.
Absolutely. And that kind of ties in really into my personal one, which I guess that's kind of personal, obviously, but
Yes.
I kind of clumped it with the professional side of things. That one's a mixed one. Obviously, very, very personal, but also impacted me professionally as well. But then another big one that shaped me was the loss of my mom.
Mhm.
So as we're aging and going through this phase of life, losing parents are hard. And it's like for me, it was losing my anchor, losing my rock, my go-to person. So, I wish I could have had her when I went through this. But, she was also the role model for me. She was a professor herself. And, having that strong, compassionate role model really showed me the guidance both personally as well as professionally, and she understood the challenges that we face as women, and in fact tried to tell me and help me navigate them and talk through things. little things like, hey, make sure you have a female on your dissertation committee. And I'm like, why, mom? She's like, just do it. Um, and she's like, no, it's just always nice to make sure, things are, you're treated equally, not saying that it wouldn't happen, but just making sure and those types of things and just how to navigate, how to make sure my voice was heard. So, and of course, she's mom on top of it all. So, it was hard. It was a challenge. And unfortunately, she was sick for a while. So, I was traveling back and forth from West Texas to my hometown in Florida and being there. So thankfully, with my schedule, summers are flexible. So I could work remotely in the summer. And again, having a very supportive husband, he's like, it's okay, go help out with your mom, but hard again trying to balance all my professional life, those types of things. I even remember I served on a thesis committee and we came to the defense and the student said, oh, thank you so much for your comments or my proposal. They were really helpful. I don't remember it.
Mm.
Like, zero recollection of, like, reading their paper, sitting in on it. Apparently, I had good things to say, so glad I did my job well. But, like, that it's just amazing how, our kind of emotions kinda take over and we just kind of focus on what's important. And, again, good thing I had my husband to go through it, to lean on, and my family and my close friends, and just having that space to process it, it's a challenge. And there's still days definitely where like I really miss her and I wish I could just pick up the phone and call her. And like you said earlier about emotions, they don't go away. It has changed me and it's really changed the way I look at things now. It's softened me in a lot of ways. I'd say, with my students and even my athletes and things, I'm more compassionate. I'm more showing grace and understanding and going through it. And I like the example too of those different jars of, our grief doesn't necessarily change size, but our jars get bigger, right? And how we're able, it just has this more space. And I know that I'm always going to kind of carry her with me. And in fact, her best friend gave me this Winnie the Pooh poem that I have up in my office. So I'm going to try to read it without crying. So let's see if I can do this.
Okay.
But if ever there is a tomorrow when we're not together, there is something you must always remember. You are braver than you believe, stronger than you seem, and smarter than you think. But most important thing is if we're ever apart, I'll always be with you. And, it really reflects what I try to think about. And of course, I'm going to cry. It's okay. Feel the things, right? Feel the things.
Yeah.
But, it's a reminder. It's right above my monitor in my office. So, I look at it and I think about it and I think through, okay, this is a challenge, but how am I going to attack it? What am I going to do? And I try to embody what she would do.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. Oh, Robin, I straight love that. And I love like not only one that you have this poem to reflect on, that your mom had someone so close to her that could give you that resource, that connecting piece. Now I'm gonna cry. That allows you to connect on a deeper level with her not there with you, right?
yeah.
Like it's a reminder, it's a piece of her that's like, you're right, you're right. She's always with me. It's always gonna be there. And just the process of like how how strong we have to be even after these really, really, really hard things that we have to go through. And we are not men. We are not going to trudge on through. And I mean, there are some men out there that have the emotions and do the things. Working with military, I don't see that very often, right? They cut it off. Oh,
Yeah.
somebody passed away, cut off. Boop. Okay, it's fine. It's not fine. It's not fine. Like let's
Yeah.
feel the things. Let's be in this process and remind ourselves and have those moments of emotions of like remembrance. Because I have a coworker and a girlfriend and yourself who have all lost your moms, and I think there's Mother's Day, there's her
Yeah.
birthday, there's certain
Yeah.
holidays and things that you did with them
Yeah.
that it comes back and it's
Mhm.
not a cut it off.
Yeah.
There's no ability to cut it off.
Yeah.
Instead, it's a and I mean, I have not lost my mom, but in my head, it's a time to connect to her again
Yeah.
and be there with her in those moments and emotions and memories.
Yeah, absolutely. And, a lot of those days I spend reflecting and thinking through things. And so, like, her birthday's coming up. So, one of those, like you said, one of those things. And it's sitting there and kind of thinking through. And there's different times where, people say that they come and talk to you. And I'm a firm believer in it, whether it's through a song, whether it's through a sunset, whether it's through something. And I'm like, oh, hi, mom,
Yeah.
and it makes me smile. And I think about those all the good times and all those things, and of course I connect out to my brother and my dad, and because I'm close with them, and close with my dad, and so I don't want to think, hey, mom's the only thing, my dad's extremely supportive, but for me, I'm her mini me, if you will. So, not just professionally, but even mannerisms and things. It's funny. When I was a PhD student, came in and helped me, teach a class, and they're like, oh, we see it. And it's funny, social learning at its finest, I guess,
Yes.
but, allowing myself to take those moments and reflect and kind of think back and think where I've been and how I'm kind of embodying her, if you will.
Yeah, yeah, I love that. I also love that within this conversation, she just became part of this podcast because she gave you advice on your dissertation that you just gave the world. Have a female. If you are a female, make sure you have a female on your dissertation, right? Like
Yeah.
she's just giving back consistently. I love this. This is
Yes.
amazing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's little things, and that I try to pass on, because and I run right now for getting a male student, but primarily an all-female graduate student lab here at so I'm empowering the next generation of females and passing on some of these words of wisdom to them of, here's certain things that you might just want to think about and how you want to navigate these situations. And is it fair that we have to think about these? No, but is it the reality? It is,
Yes.
and kind of helping, like I said, to empower them, to make them strong, independent individuals who can lean on us as a team, and we're here to support you. We're here to cheer you on and know that you can do it. So, really kind of pushing that forward.
Yeah, you're such an advocate for women, and I love that. And I'm so glad that you're willing to come on here. I don't want to overdo our time here, but I definitely want to ask you some more questions.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
is there one that sticks out to you more that you would like to kind of share or talk about, or should I just pick one?
You tell me.
Let's see.
I can tell you what I kind of have answers for, and you can tell me what you like. How about that?
That's perfect. That's great. What about a personal success you've had and what led to it? That's one of the last ones.
Okay. Yeah. So, and that goes well with what I was actually just talking about here. So, a personal success was really a recent one, and I received the Outstanding Mentor Award. And this reflects that something deeply meaningful to me because I'm all about helping others grow. So I don't think of this award as something for me or just the research we produce, but it's that environment we've created and really allowing my students, and in particular the women, to feel supported, to feel challenged, because I am going to do that. I'm going to push you. And my students are like, yep, yep, okay. But at the end of the day, I want to empower, to develop their voice, their vision. And really, I reflect on the mentorship I've received. So obviously through my mom, like I just said, that's a big one. But I've also had amazing female mentors in my life. So my applied mentor, Dr. Jody Yambor, she was a big one and instrumental who guided me in my applied sports psychology training. And in fact, she was the first female hired by NCAA as a full-time sports psychology consultant for the University of Miami. So she was the first, period, not just female, first period, full time. So was extremely fortunate to learn from her and her stories and work directly side by side with her. And then learning through peers. Obviously, Tamra, you're a big one. So our time at Barry and learning with my peers and having them, to challenge me, support me, realize we're all in this together. So I'm so glad you're doing this podcast to really show it's okay. So really this mentorship award has brought me kind of full circle here and thinking about what I've done in terms of creating this space for others to thrive
Mm.
and, allowing this to happen. So, yes, it's an award I receive, but I think it's much bigger than that. And this is something that I've been really trying to create. So been a huge kind of thing that I recently got.
Yeah, that's fantastic. You deserve it, first and foremost. I'm going to just throw that out there because I know of the hard work that you've done to get to where you're at. If you were to give anybody advice on getting to a point where they can do similar to what you're doing in mentoring and helping others, what type of advice would you give them?
I would tell them kind of focus on your goals, kind of see what you want to achieve, where you want to go, and stay focused on that. If somebody tries to redirect you, or you're getting these pressures or expectations around what you should be doing, it's your own path. Focus on that. Focus on what's important to you and be the mentor or person or leader who you would want. I think is the big thing. So thinking back to your own experiences, reflecting on those, but then also a key thing is being able to adapt
Mm.
is is key as well. So working with the person, not for the person or being in charge of them, but we're a team and we talk through this in terms of our lab. All of us have been in sports. This is our new team. Like we look at the lab as a team. We're team members. How are we going to work together? How are we going to help each other out and creating that team environment? And yeah, we'll have to adapt, we'll have to change. And as students graduate and new ones come in, team dynamics change. That's part of it. So how do we adapt? How do we change? How do we grow? And being flexible so is key. And I talk with my students and of course the athletes I work with of, what's going to work best for you is critical.
Yeah, when you're building that team, is there a certain couple things that you kind of push or have them work on or do together to build that cohesion?
We try to at the beginning of the year, we always start with just a lab luncheon and hey, let's just hang out. Let's just talk non-shop,
Mhm.
right? Let's talk life. And especially for our new students coming in, like, hey, let's talk where are places you study? What do you do for fun? Teaching them about if they're not from the area, what are things to do in the area? Those basic things and just I hate to say be human, but let's connect. Like let's just have natural conversations. And again, naturally a lot of times it comes back to sports. So at that point, hey, talking about football season because it's fall. So, what teams do you follow and those types of things going on. So starting there and then from there we'll go into all right, let's set our goals for the whole lab for the year, then talk through, okay, what are individual goals? We put them up on a poster board, have them there. So, again, all the things we do with our teams,
Mm.
and kind of go through some of those things, and then we'll kind of dive more into the nitty gritty of, the different training for our research studies, and realizing again, there's different roles you'll have, whether you're the leader of this project or you're just here supporting the project. We're all important and
Mhm.
everyone plays a critical role.
Mhm.
And each person is there for a reason. And if one person goes down, anybody should be able to step up. Like, hey, life happens. You get a flat tire on the way in, life happens.
Yes.
Can somebody step in and do it? And I won't ever ask anybody to do anything I'm not willing to do.
Mm.
And I'll never forget one day I was in the lab, study had just completed. I wasn't there for the data collection, but popped up afterwards and, heart rate monitor saying to be washed. Grabbed them, took them to the sink. I'm washing them. And they're like, you're washing? I was like, yeah, like they need to be washed. It's not a big deal. I'm like, I'm not above doing anything, and it's a critical task that needs to be done. So
Yes. I love, so here's what I love is one that we're coming back to this idea of connection, right?
yeah,
This it's important to be human, to get to know each other, to understand one another's strengths, weaknesses, where they've come from, what they know, what they don't, all these things to be able to, one, be a mentor, or two, be a part of a team. And then as a mentor, using and just paying attention, listening to the what I tell my soldiers a lot of time is you're actively listening. You're using and listening for certain phrases and certain responses so that you can better know their motivations and their values to be able to tie them either to their own personal goals or to the team goal. So I think in mentoring, there's just so much to learn from good, strong mentors on how, if you want to be a mentor, how to do that and which and what to really look for and work through and do with those people. So I think that's all such great things that you just said. I love that.
yeah. Yeah, and I'll say I'm not perfect. Like I make mistakes
Yeah.
and I'm still learning. I'm still growing. And are there ways I could do things better? Absolutely.
Yep.
But I'm going to continue. And I think that's an important thing is realizing to continue to grow. And
Yeah.
I've always joked like if I ever get to the point where I don't want to continue to grow, all right, it's time for me to retire. I don't think that will ever happen. That will probably be the opposite. But I think it's important that we do and that we do evolve and we do change and that we're willing to. And yes, but still, I think be true to yourself.
Yeah.
Like you need to be who you are. I'm not going to try to be some of my colleagues and how they mentor. That's not my style. That's their style. So still being true to myself, but yet growing in that space.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. Su Such great words of wisdom, Robin. I could be talking to you all day. I'm like, do I keep going? It's been an hour. Why not? Do podcasters like to listen to them more longer? Who knows?
Who knows? Yeah. If
Okay.
you want to keep going, we're good. If not, you let me know.
I'll ask one more and then we'll go from there. What would you tell younger women or women currently facing similar struggles that you've overcome?
Yes. So I would say, and I kind of said this, definitely staying focused on those goals. So focusing on what you want,
Mhm.
not what others are telling you in this moment, what you should be doing, realizing that there isn't a straight path and everybody's path looks very, very different. So do your path and the path that works for you. Another big piece of advice I have is which I struggle with, allowing to say no and without over explaining that you're saying no. I struggle with it. I do.
Mhm.
My colleagues will probably laugh that I'm even saying this, but I struggle really, really bad with this. But I know a lot of other women can really relate. And we feel the need to always justify why we're saying no or protecting our time and our space. So we need to have this quote unquote good enough reason or long explanation to make it okay why I'm saying no. But really, the truth is, no is a sentence, right? And really changing my mindset and thinking, is this mission critical? If it's not, I can say no. And mission critical can mean anything from professional to personal. So, and everything in between. So, really protecting my time, my energy. It's not selfish, it's necessary. As you can listen to everything I've done, I say yes to a lot of things. And, sometimes it's out of guilt or because I didn't want to disappoint somebody or to prove I could do it all, so to speak, or didn't want to leave an opportunity on the table. But this can really lead to burnout. And I've definitely faced this in my career. So now really shifting gears to, does this align with my values and my priorities? If not, it's okay to pass and say it's a no for now. And that doesn't mean later, if the opportunity presents itself again, you can say yes.
Mhm. Mhm. Oh my gosh. This is the one piece of advice that I feel like so many women need to hear. No is a sentence.
Yes. Yes,
No
exactly.
is
It's
a
hard. It's hard because we are just like, I don't know whether it's in grade or what exactly, but feel the need to go on and fully elaborate on why I'm saying no.
Yes, give explanations, give reasons. There's so much behind it that we feel the need and necessity to do. So, such a great piece of information and advice, Robin. I absolutely love that. And I just so much appreciate you for coming on here and sharing. And I guarantee all of your students will be like, that's my teacher. Like she knows. Because being as close as I've been to you for so many years, I
I
won't
know.
even say how many years.
Yeah, I know. We don't want to think about that because we're still 20, right? I don't know what
Right.
you're
Don't look at the lines
talking
and then
about.
you'll know. Okay. But I've just been so appreciative of you and just your words of wisdom. You are the person I go to when I'm like, okay, I need information on this. Okay. And even in school, I remember being like, Robin is my organizer. Where is she? Set me up, put me on my path. I will be the worker bee. Just walk me through the things. So,
Yep.
you just find in life that you have certain people who who really help you and set you up for success. You know their strengths and they're there for that. And it's great to just hear that you're still doing that for so many people and especially for women and girls growing into women, right? These young ladies. I admire you, Robin. You're a great human being.
Well, thank you, and thank you for providing this space to share my story and and empowering women. It's something that's so important and a lot of times overlooked. We have our small support networks, but I think expanding the space is critical. So thank you for allowing me to share this.
Of course, anytime. Have a wonderful day,
Yeah.
and I'll talk to you soon, friend.